All right, Mopar people, welcome back to the channel. I'm just Mopar Joe. Here is our 68 notchback Plymouth Barracuda from my buddy Darren at Blake's Muscle Car on YouTube. Here you can see we are getting some paint stripped off of the left front fender. So this video is basically going to get all the paint off the exterior and get this entire car into direct metal primer. So it's a really huge step for me. We're going to take a little closer look at all this funky stuff here on the sides and some small repairs today I thought were worth throwing in. So the door's got plenty of dings as well, but the fender, this left front fender, may be the worst one on the vehicle. And I'm going to go ahead and have to pull it off. So besides that little dent there, this is just what I can tell for now. This is dented down. So that got caved in at some point. That's dented down. Had a little filler here. This is okay-ish. High here. So where the screw went in for wheel well stuff. This is split. It's gonna have to be welded. I'll show you. So straighten that back out, hammer it out, weld, grind, dress that. And right here, I don't know if you can see how deep that is, but they had Bondo stacked, and that's as much as I can get it off with an 80 grit sand disc. So I can't get behind to hammer and dolly that out, so the fender's got to come off anyway. There's another little speck. It'll get a better job once that's off there, but just another joy. I'll unbolt from our front panel, nose piece, and across the top. So here's a fender brought in to the shop, and you can see how wavy that bottom place is, but that's an easy fix now that it's off. And this car does have a factory black stripe right at the bottom, and all I'm doing here is just measuring from that bottom edge. It is right at 9 inches from the very bottom edge of that fender to the bottom of the stripe. So just for a good reference. And here you can see where that's terribly bent over in where it bolts on. All this stuff's got to be straightened up. As for the inside of the fenders, I've talked to Darren about it. I'm going to pressure wash all that out, brush it out really well, and then put my rust treatment on from the inside, wash it out, and then I'll put a nice, just some kind of black coating. So all that, when you lay down and look, I'm not just talking about rattle can spray paint. I actually have a good coating to use. We're not interested in stripping off all of the factory undercoating. It's really in good shape. The majority of it that doesn't come off during pressure washing should live there. So here I've got that bottom section mostly straightened. Few little high spots through there still. That's actually bent downward, so it's got to come out and knock out again there. So I'm sorry I couldn't film all of that portion, but getting the welder ready here for this section. And she'll be welded up soon. And there's our old repair. The filler was covering up all the old holes. And I'm going to go ahead and get a couple studs welded on here and pulled to get that section out. And then I can weld in the old holes, grind all that smooth. And it'll take just minimal filler to be able to cover that thing up. So, got us another low spot. Here is the front of our fender. The holes are welded up. There's a little low right there, but it's about 95% better. I feel good about that. And I put the AMD chrome piece on. It had these two holes in it. So I started those. They lined up with the factory holes pretty well. And I just put one clamp on here, but here's my split piece. Kind of see how it moves away from there. But I wanted to show you the repair. There we go. So first I welded it from both sides, and I made the mistake of grinding a little bit too much. So when I went to dolly a little bit, it's instantly split. So I re-welded, and I left it kind of stacked more on the rear to have better strength. So it is super solid now, and if anything, it's going to take just a tiny wipe of filler. But in my process, I like to test fit that Fender chrome as many times as possible, because once the car's painted, it's really hard to adjust. So I'm probably going to end up wiping this entire panel from about that line upward, and that way it'll give me plenty of surface to block off, sand off, and just make it right. But the way my little white spots there, my dings, it's so easy now. I can lay my dolly on this top side and take my kind of a pecking hammer from the back and raise them right back out. It's not a big deal. And I end up flipping this Fender over 4 or 5 times just to be able to knock those 6 out. Right, let's talk about a little progress here. I've just hung my Fender back on. No bolts right now, but it's just basically in place. It's got to come back off because I'm going to pressure wash the backside and do my rust treatment on it. So I talked to Darren about that today. He and Trish came over and they saw the car and they're super excited. And I wanted to show you kind of down the side. So I'll unveil my plan here to you. As soon as I get the full exterior of this car primed with the direct metal primer, I'm going to pop the doors off, pop the fenders off, be able to get into my little jams and stuff. And while those are off, I've got to get that roll bar out of here, or roll cage. I think it's a 6-point. So that's got to go. And before I prime this stuff, I got to do a couple things. You can see I got a little rust popping up right there. You know, I'm in Arkansas, so everywhere that a hand is touched, a finger is touched, fingerprints, it will start rusting. So I've got to knock this whole side off again with a sander. Then I can spray my rust mort all the way down it. And then I can actually come back by and rinse that off. I have not done anything around or molding here yet. And I did find a few little rust spots right there, actual holes. So they will probably get cut out. Because you know, if you have some really small spots like this, in reality behind that could actually be a little larger area. So I'm probably going to do about a 2-inch by 1-inch strip, cut that out and see what the backside looks like. So not a big deal on that. I'm not messing with it yet because I got a lot of other exposed metal to play with right now. So that repair is going to be there and be required anyway. For the most part, this section looks really good. Very few dings and dents. We move forward, starting about right here. You can start to see them. That one is my deepest. It had some previous filler in it. So I don't think I can get to the back side of it here. I can actually weld my little stud on here and pull that one out before I do my little bit of filler work. But I've got to grind that other stuff out of there first. A little small deal here, there. Then we get to the door. The door's the same thing. Spot, 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 spot. These are so minute that they would almost block out, but that's what's going to take filler, and it's probably going to take just a 30-second or less of filler in the deepest point. So again, I can go ahead and prime this whole door, block it, and then all those little spots will show up in my primer. Or I can grind this door one more time. I'll probably use my contour here because it's a little bit rougher. So I'm going to do that section from here to there. Go ahead and hit that whole entire door and strip the rest of that stuff off, and then I can wipe that entire panel. Then I'll come back and DA all of that off. 99.9% of it will go away. I'll move to my left front fender. I'll do the same thing from about here upward and go ahead and get the heaviest parts of this knocked out. There's my repair from yesterday. where I welded those up. I think it looks really good. Darren saw it today. I got a little bit more pushing on the back side of it. It'll be ready to wipe, but I can't wipe anything until I get rid of that little tiny ugly surface rusty stuff. So let me go to work on that and I'll bring you back for a wipe. Now I want to show you just how beautiful of a surface this SCT put on this thing. See, they're all nice vertical scratches. And if you feel it, I'm not going to right now because it put some oil from my fingers on. You could almost file your fingernails on it. It's got a nice roughness to it. You see my little spots. Boom, boom, boom. 3, 4. There. I have not touched it with rust mort yet. There's my deepest one right there that I can get pulled out in just a second. And then I can go ahead and rust mort this side right here, these 2 panels. I'm gonna wait and pull this fender off. Probably do it off the car because I still have to do that back side. But I want to get this wiped and treated so I can get it primed. I don't want to leave all this out bare metal, so let's keep pushing. I had to get out my short billy sander with some 80 on it and run over this whole thing again because I felt a little, I didn't want to leave too much around on the front of that door there, but I started cutting through here. That's good there. I want to do it a few more passes, maybe, you know, another minute or so, and I'm looking great from there back. She's gonna be slick. Had a weird little dent right through here where the door handle went. Maybe somebody had shoved it or something before, so I'm glad to get that filled. And what looks like black here, that's actually bare metal shining through, so that's all looking really good. That was my deepest dent, was in here that I had pulled out just a little bit, and I can just faintly see a little bit of spot right there. I need to put spot putty or filler over. But all this looks great back here. That's what I wanted to do, was from there forward, because that was where most of my spots were. So get this side primed, block it, keep pushing forward. Here is our only, what I'm calling one of the very few cancer spots on the entire car. So I'm cutting out past it every direction and wrapping her around. I've already got my piece of metal formed. Got a little bit of curve to it for the front, and to go along the bottom. It's just like that. And I'll get out my death wheel here and cut. I'll probably split that line. You don't, the way I was taught, you don't actually want this to butt up you want there to be just a little bit of gap whenever that drops in, so that when you're welding, there'll be strength in it. But I got to get this cut out and probably vacuum that out, blow it out, and once this gets put in place, I can access that from inside the trunk, and we'll see what's in there. How she look? A little chonky. Oh yeah. Not terrible, all things considered. See how close my patch is. Pretty close. There we go. I'll need to trim her down just a little bit. Get this cleaned out first. So we got just a little gap all the way around. You can about get your fingernail into. It's a little wider in that corner, and basically down that side I can scoot the entire piece. So I got a gap on the bottom, gap on the top, but I think my fitment is really good as far as the curvature goes, and my weld will be kind of just below that where the wrap down is. So I'm thinking this thing will probably need minimal, very, very minimal filler at all once it's done. So let me weld. So all I need to do is my little skim coat of filler. I can keep grinding, but it's just making the welds weaker. You can still see that top weld's all the way there. The bottom weld is too, where it wraps around. So I'm pretty pleased with all that. And once it gets wiped, when I knock that filler off, should be easy. Nothing to it. All right, driver side in primer. Got my 2 quick coats on here. You can see a little bit of ugly texture, doesn't matter. Most of this is getting sanded off, but at least I've got my bare metal in direct to metal primer. And my little body spots that I patched like that, almost unnoticeable right now. That's just roughed in, as they would call it in the body world. So everything looks good from here. You see that little line there? I've got to do something better about it. Kind of an odd dent. I was too heavy on my gun there. Doesn't matter. Getting sanded off. But it's looking a lot nicer and a lot straighter. Here is our Barracuda top and cowl. I believe they are ready to be primed. Before I do that, I want to do my rust mort over these. And I'm going to be careful because I don't want it on any glass and I don't want it on any trim. It's an acid. It may not hurt the glass, but I'm going to be careful about it. I'm not going to let it allow it to touch. So I'll probably end up actually sponging it on the roof here and then quickly washing it off. I think it'll be fine from there. I got a few little spots like that you can see shining through, but that was a fingerprint from the other day. But my trunk gutters look wonderful if you saw my short. So letting the rust mort down into here, the little pecky spots there, that was actually underneath the trim, and you can kind of see a faint brown line of rust right where the old seam sealer would have been. It cracked loose from the body. Then when it rained or washed the car, it would just hold moisture there. So we're lucky that it did not rot all the way through or anything, but once it's treated, it'll be primed, painted. Also, it'll have a new bead of seam sealer on it before it ever gets the trim put back on. But I'm just, taking my time, doing it the right way, I think. Here's our lead spot in the back. You can kind of see a transition there. I can go two ways about this. My direct to metal primer is totally fine for this. Lead is metal. But I had thought about even just putting my nice light skim coat here, because I think Stan or someone in my comments the other day had mentioned there's a lot of lines going on here. So that sharp line coming down kind of fades away here. So there's the body line. This line needs to exist and then fade in. And the entire piece here, it's not flat. So this just has a nice swooped curve to it. Nice transition that goes down. But the way I remember it before I stripped it, it had kind of some funky waves to it. So I want to make that a nice smooth transition on both sides. The deal of the day, and most of today, was cleaning out all of these right here. And a lot of it I did by hand. The other parts you can see I had another short on making myself a little brush for this. And I mean, it is bare bones metal now, so that's nice. I'll wipe my rust mort over it too. I don't want to spray it, just let it drip and run all down in the cowl. I can still see red paint in there, so I'll wipe it over, rinse it out, rinse the cowl out really well. And this fender can come off, it's just loose right now, but I want to wash out all my vents for the cowl there when both fenders come off soon. But before I do those, priming the rest of the top, prime the cowl. These two pieces, my nose piece and my front valance, that's still mega caved in, so it's got to come off to get fixed anyway. If I can go ahead and get this thing rust treated, rinsed, dried really quickly, then I need to get it taped off before I can prime. I'm going to leave the underhood stuff for a different day as well, but if it's bare metal right now, it needs to be treated. We are primed up and looking pretty good. I went ahead and stripped my paper off for the most part. Got a little dent right here in the top, and I remember that now when the car first came in, before I ever stripped any paint off. There it is. Let me get it. Yeah, got a little dent there in the top. I pushed most of that out because you can just barely get to it. There's no headliner right now, so that needs a little more work. I got all my bare metal stuff here. Got my cowl all done up real nice. I shot it from both angles to be sure and coat all those with the direct to metal stuff. I just taped off my little nubs there, but it's all looking pretty good. Got to pull that tape off. I didn't want a big heavy spot of primer overlap here, so you can see this stuff here's pretty well dry now, and it's got to get sanded off anyway. So making great steps in the right direction. I'm gonna play with those two panels tomorrow, but I'm gonna probably call this video right here, as it is plenty of time to go home now. So I appreciate y'all watching, and I will catch you next time. Also, I was told to mention, if you want to use any of the products that I'm using on this car, I've got an Amazon store link below. It'll be the same price, but if you click the link, I get commission for that. I don't know what it is, not very much, but it's easier, I think, to find the items if they're already in a list. I also have other lists for like engine building stuff and engine build, big block, small block engine build stuff. So y'all check those out as well, and I appreciate y'all watching. All right, more people.